Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. Now, I'm going to keep this quite brief, but in a video which I'll attach below, you'll see thousands of hospital beds being discarded by Baragwanath Hospital in Gauteng. And we have an extraordinary situation where the Minister of Health is now saying that that was a mistake, but, you know, I can understand why they did it. What a load of BS. Anyway, here comes the video. This is your corrupt ANC government, and he's trying to suggest that he's bringing in new electronic beds that you can move upwards and downwards and do all sorts of stuff with. You've seen the videos I posted in the last day or two, the state of the toilets in public hospitals and what happened in that hospital in Durban. This is absolute BS. These guys are just, they're incredible. I mean, I just cannot get my head around how corrupt South Africa is. Please remember to subscribe to become informed. Make sure the bell has those two little lines so you get all the updates, and have a great day. And take care with the elections that are happening right now.
Yesterday, a video circulated on social media showing many empty beds that appeared to have been discarded at Chris Hani Baragwanath Hospital in the hospital's yard. The DA's Gauteng Health spokesperson, Jack Bloom, shared some of those images, saying this was wastage. There was a video circulating on social media showing these empty beds discarded in the yard. We're now joined by the National Minister of Health, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, who joins us on the line now to explain what has happened there. Very good morning to you. Thank you so much for talking to us at such short notice.
Good morning, Bongani. Good morning to the listeners.
Right, from the appearance of this, I mean, it's difficult to understand exactly what is going on. One might understand perhaps if one or several or even a dozen beds had been discarded because they were old and no longer, usable. But so many does raise a question. What's going on?
Yes, Bongani, indeed. Chris Hani Baragwanath Hospital was in the process of modernizing and removing the old type beds that were used, that had lots of problems, which the clinical staff and the nursing staff complained about, because they were very high and patients used to fall and get injuries from those beds. They are made of steel, and the patients used to bang their head, as you saw in the statement that we've released. So they had to replace them and buy beds that are used in a number of modern hospitals, which are called high-low electronic beds that can be adjusted up or down, and have got many other advantages. They can be wheeled to any part of the hospital. They are actually used in ICUs and high care areas around the country, and quite a number of hospitals are actually buying them, including, of course, if you remember, the stimulus package, which we asked the president to provide for health last year. We have bought 8,000 of such beds, for quite a number of hospitals. So that's what has happened in Bar in 2016-17. Then the hospital, of course, wanted to dispose of them. Unfortunately, they were using a wrong method, because they were sending them to other hospitals which they regard as smaller. The then HOD of Gauteng stopped them and said, no, if these beds are not good for patients at Para because they injure them, they cause problems, you then cannot send them to other hospitals, because patients in other hospitals are also as precious as patients in Para, and he stopped them from distributing them in that way. Unfortunately, what he did not do was to instruct them on the right method of disposal of state assets. The state always disposes its assets. For instance, you do find departments buying new computers, and they dispose of the others through a particular rule to schools and some communities. Yeah. And I think that's what they should have done there at Bara immediately after the HOD stopped them from sending them to other hospitals. So we've just instructed him to follow that rule, Because in all the other hospitals, when they buy this new type of modern beds, they follow these rules of asset disposal.
Dr. Mutsaledi, are you saying then that these beds are completely no good? They cannot be reused at other facilities because there's absolutely no future use for them at all? They could not be repurposed, refurbished to be used again?
Not in health. Not in health. That's why I'm saying they must follow methods of disposal of government assets. There are rules to do that, but they should not be used in health, because I've already mentioned the problems that they were experiencing. If they are used in health and they injure patients again in another facility when they've been removed from Bara, how do we explain that? There are many other areas where they can be used.
Such as?
I'm saying not in health.
What, such as?
Well, you can sell it to communities. You can sell them to deserving organizations, like there are NGOs which deals with people where they will need beds, where people are not necessarily sick, but they will need beds, where they are not necessarily patients. And a good example is that coincidentally, in the same year that Bara did this, Kalafong Hospital in Pretoria also replaced those type of beds and bought new ones, and they were able to dispose them. They followed normal methods. They phoned NGOs that may be dealing with people who need beds, and they follow them up. For instance, I understand there's somebody who wanted to buy them at Bara, but who's running a private nursing college, but they refused because he's a member of staff. So you can use them to people who are not patients, because it's patients. If you look at our statement, we are saying when patients get delirious or mental confusion, they used to jump over them, and they are very high. By the way, if you look at those beds, you need stairs, you need steps to climb
to be able to climb onto them.
And many elderly people and patients could not just do so.
Dr. Mutsaledi, the final question, it's in two parts. One of the difficulties that an image like this will evoke in many people is being aware that there are a number of facilities around the country where patients are turned away because there aren't enough beds. Quite often we in the media will report of people who maybe even find themselves having to sleep on the floor, in corridors. And it would appear from the images that were circulating on social media yesterday that these beds, I mean, I don't quite have the number of days, but it would appear on the face of it that these beds have been sitting in that yard for quite some time. And so whilst one appreciates and understands all those issues that you've raised this morning, for example, the idea that, they're disposed of in this way, where, as you point out, they could have been used in other ways, that's what troubles most people with that image. Can you accept that?
Yes, I do. That's why I wrote on that statement that on finding out, we actually instructed the HOD that after stopping them from disposing of them, he should have instructed them to dispose them of other methods. He only stopped them from sending to other hospitals, and we agree with that, and I'm still insisting. They cannot be used in any other health facility if they couldn't be used in Bara. But I am agreeing with you, Bongani, that they could be used in other instances. And I'm giving an example of what happened in Kalafong Hospital. I actually asked the CEO of the hospital yesterday to get in touch with people in Kalafong to learn of the agent method, which I think is very good, which they used to engage with communities about those beds. Yes, I agree with you that there was a delay in doing that.
I suppose it's a general problem in terms of old equipment and resources in our hospitals. I remember the issue of, the linear accelerator units, for example, at Charlotte Maxeke in the radiation department there. There have been suggestions. Those are old. They're delaying cancer treatments. This is an all too common problem in our public healthcare system, is it not?
No, not necessarily so. Not necessarily so. The issue of linear accelerators in Charlotte Maxeke was the issue of repair, not disposing of them, to repair them, because they are very high-powered instruments that needs very highly sophisticated companies to repair them. And that's where the problem was. So there's definitely no similarity. The issue at Bara was a simple issue of asset disposal, Bongani, and I agree that there was a delay in disposing of that asset. There are rules in government on how you dispose assets.
All right.
And I think that's where the mistake was.
All right, we'll leave it there with the Minister of Health, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi. That's how he explains it. What are your thoughts? 011-883-0702. We will speak to the DA's Jack Bloom, who'll respond to the Minister's explanation. That's going to be coming up in the show. The person who flagged the issue of those beds joins us now on the line, Jack Bloom, DA Gauteng Health spokesperson. A very good morning to you. I don't know if you heard my conversation earlier with Minister Motsoaledi, who says, listen, these beds are not fit for purpose, nothing to see here. Perhaps we could have disposed of them, a little differently. We could have done one or two things better, but essentially there's no story here. Your response?
Well, I think there definitely is a story there. Look, I'm very pleased that this hospital has upgraded the beds, but these very beds that the minister says are unsafe, you can find them in many other hospitals in South Africa, so I'm a bit concerned about that. But nevertheless, I think that it's a matter of state assets and what you do with them. There's value in those state assets. They can be used in other institutions. I'm pleased that the minister is now talking about donating them to non-profit organizations or worthy individuals, but he's only doing that now because it was exposed. So I think it deserved to be exposed, and I'd like to see a better management in future of state assets. That hospital has been without a CEO for 3 years. The new CEO was only appointed in January this year.
Yeah.
That's the poor management that, unfortunately, we get in state hospitals.
I mean, I raised the issue, for example, and I used the example of the linear accelerator units at Charlotte Maxeke. That's an issue that's been flagged. That's in the radiation department there. We were being told, again, old equipment is delaying treatments. And he says that was just about making sure that those are repaired and not replaced. Different issue, he says. But more broadly speaking, we do have a problem with old equipment and resources in our hospitals, do we not?
Oh, absolutely. And the problem is, the elephant in the room is corruption. Minister Motsoaledi presided over a terrible situation at KwaZulu-Natal when the cancer, there was no cancer treatment for years because of a corrupt tender. And he's a national minister. He should have intervened far, far sooner. And hundreds, if not thousands of people couldn't get cancer treatment. They died because of corruption. So I think we need to look at this elephant in the room, corrupt tenders, poor maintenance contracts. Why is it that we have we have equipment bought new and then it deteriorates because there isn't proper maintenance and fishy tenders? And I think this whole area needs to be looked at properly because we need to have functioning equipment and safe equipment in all our hospitals.
All right, we'll leave it there with the DA Gauteng Health spokesperson, Jack Bloom.